Hey guys, today we are making summer slow cooker dinners to beat the heat. When it's 80 plus degrees outside, I look for any way possible to not turn on my oven and heat the house up anymore. The best solution? The slow cooker. Today I will show you how to make meatball parms, sesame chicken, barbecue beef brisket, Cajun Chicken Alfredo, and meatloaf with garlicky potatoes. We've got a lot to cover here, so let's go get started. So let's start out with my classic meatballs and marinara sauce. I like to use this to make meatball parms, but you could also, of course, put it over spaghetti or anything you prefer. So I have 1.5 pounds of lean ground beef. The leaner the better because you will end up with a lot of grease in the slow cooker if you use something like 80-20. So to the ground beef, I am adding 1 small onion that I minced, along with 3 cloves of garlic minced, a 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs, you could use plain or Italian seasoned, 1/3 a cup of grated Parmesan cheese, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of oregano, 1 teaspoon of basil, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. And then to that we are also going to add 2 large eggs and 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. And then I'm just going to give that a good mix. And then we are going to start forming our meatballs. So I sprayed my crock pot with some nonstick cooking spray, and I'm just rolling these into 1.5 to 2 inch meatballs. I like to use a cookie scoop. I use a 1.5 tablespoon size. I will link down below if you're interested. But we're just gonna squeeze them all in there. If they don't fit, you can overlap them. And then I am pouring on a 24-ounce jar of marinara sauce. And then we are going to cover this and cook it for 3 to 4 hours on high or 5 to 7 hours on low. And they will be beautifully tender and soft and so flavorful. So like I said, I like to toast up some sub rolls. If you have a toaster oven, that helps to not heat up the house. And then I just top it with a few slices of mozzarella cheese, some nice fresh basil, and we are good to go. So moving on to my Cajun Chicken Alfredo. I love this one because the pasta also cooks right in the slow cooker. So to my crock pot that I sprayed with cooking spray, I am adding in 4 cups of chicken broth, 3 cups of heavy cream, 1 small onion diced, and 3 cloves of garlic. And then I'm also adding in 4 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of Cajun seasoning. I'm just going to give that a good stir. And then I am adding in 1.5 to 2 pounds of chicken breasts. Now this is totally optional, but you can sear the chicken breasts if you would like. Again, that's just heating up the house, so really all that does is add a little bit of texture, like that crustiness to the outside of the chicken, but like I said, totally optional. And then 12 ounces of smoked andouille sausage cut into pieces. And then we are going to cook that on low for 4 hours, high for 2 to 3 hours. And then we are going to remove the chicken and set that aside. And then I am making a slurry here with a 1/2 cup of hot water and 1 teaspoon of cornstarch. And we are just going to add that into the slow cooker, along with 1 pound of penne pasta, uncooked. And then we are going to cook that on high for about 30 minutes. I would check it at 15 minutes just because all slow cookers are different, but we just want to cook it until the pasta is done to your liking. And then to that we are going to add 2 cups of grated Parmesan cheese. And then we are going to add in the sliced chicken breast, as well as some salt and pepper to taste. And then it is ready to serve. It is so rich and creamy. Ugh, it has become one of my family's favorites. So now moving on to the meatloaf with garlicky potatoes and carrots. I have 2 pounds of meatloaf mix in a bowl here. You could also use just ground beef. And to that I am adding 2 large eggs, 1 small onion that I grated, a 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, 1 teaspoon of dried basil, 1 tablespoon of parsley, and 1 teaspoon of salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. And we are just going to mix that together. And then I am taking a piece of aluminum foil that I'm going to spray with nonstick cooking spray. And then we are going to form the meatloaf into a loaf shape and put it into the aluminum foil to kind of make a little boat here. And we just want to crimp the edges around it, almost like we're making a little baking dish. And then that is going to go directly into the center of our crock pot. Now moving on to our garlicky potatoes and carrots. I have 3 tablespoons of melted butter in a bowl, and to that I am adding 1 teaspoon of garlic powder and a half a teaspoon of salt, as well as some nice fresh cracked black pepper. I'm going to give that a stir, and then to that I am adding in 1.5 pounds of baby potatoes and 1 pound of baby carrots or a carrot cut into matchsticks. I'm just going to give that a stir, and then that's going to go all around the sides of the meatloaf. And then we are going to cook this on low for 6 to 8 hours. And then we are going to move on to make the glaze for the top. So I have a half a cup of ketchup, with 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of red wine vinegar, and we're just going to mix that around. And when the time is up on our meatloaf, we are just going to glaze that all over the top and cook it an additional 30 minutes on high. This meatloaf is so full of flavor and perfectly tender, and I love that everything cooks all in one pot so you have an entire dinner ready to go. Now let's go make our BBQ Beef Brisket. Now I like to make my own barbecue spice rub, but feel free to buy an all-purpose one if you would prefer. But for my spice rub, I mix 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of smoked paprika, 1 tablespoon of chili powder, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, and 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne. So we're just going to mix that all together, and then I have a 3.5 pound beef brisket here that's trimmed. And I'm just going to rub most of this spice blend all over the top, bottom, and sides. So once again, we want to spray our crock pot with nonstick cooking spray, and to that I am adding in 1 cup of beef stock, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, a half a cup of barbecue sauce, and 1/4 teaspoon of liquid smoke, and that's what helps us get that smoky barbecue taste. So then we are just going to add that brisket right into the liquid there and cover it and cook on low for 6 to 8 hours. You could do it on high, but I find that low is what gets you that really, really tender beef. And then when it's all done, we're just going to slather it with some more barbecue sauce. I like to let it sit and rest for about 15 minutes before slicing it. But then it is good to go. It literally is fork tender, fall apart. It's almost hard to cut slices. But I like to serve it as is with some sides, or you could serve it on a roll and make a brisket sandwich. That's also delicious. And then last but certainly not least is our sesame chicken. So again, I greased my crock pot, and to that I am adding 1/4 cup of soy sauce, 1/3 a cup of honey, 2 tablespoons of ketchup, 1 tablespoon of sesame oil, and 3 cloves of garlic minced. And optional, you can add 1 teaspoon of sriracha if you like some spice. And to that I am adding 1.5 to 2 pounds of chicken breast that I cut into 1-inch chunks. And we're just going to stir that around and make sure everything's evenly coated. And we are going to cook that on low for 4 hours. Then I am making a slurry with 2 tablespoons of water and 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. And we are going to add that to the pot and cook 30 minutes more on high. And when it's done, it will be nice and thick and sticky and delicious. The chicken is super tender. And I like to top mine with sesame seeds and some green onions that I sliced. Serve it over some rice with some steamed broccoli that you can do in the microwave. And once again, a heatless dinner. I really hope you enjoyed coming along with me and making these summer slow cooker dinners to beat the heat. All of these recipes are husband and toddler approved in my household. They are in our weekly rotation. And as I said, it is so nice to not heat up the house by turning on the oven or turning on the burner. I love being able to get dinner set up in the morning, early afternoon hours, and then have the rest of the day to just enjoy the summer with my family. If you give any of these recipes a try, please be sure to leave me a comment. I love hearing from you guys. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!